surrender your time. Your enthusiasm and passion for Star Trek will be added to our own. Resistance is futile.
Alright, so we're here with Max Grodenchik and Armin Shimerman from DS9, and we've got a couple of questions for the TrekMate show. So our first question, I realised that Armin, you were in an episode of TNG, but what was your experience of Star Trek prior to DS9 casting? Any of you auditioned for any other parts?
Yes, before I was a Ferengi, I auditioned and got a part of the wedding box in the episode Haven. So that is how I started my career on Star Trek, and fortunately for me, that episode in Last Outpost, which is the first episode that the Ferengi appeared in, were very close to each other, and Rick Berman and company were kind enough to remember me from the wedding box episode, the Haven episode, and were looking for short character actors, and said, what about that actor who played the box? So I had to audition for the Ferengi again, but I was very familiar to them, having just worked for them. And unlike any other show on TV, actors are not allowed to play different parts in a relatively short time span. That is a definite no-no. But on Star Trek you could, and luckily for me they did, and the rest is history. And prior to that, I was a huge Star Trek fan, and I won't go into how that played into my daily role, but I was an enormous fan of Star Trek, and because of some very lucky choices I made because I was a fan, it allowed me to eventually be in Star Trek.
When you were the box, are you visible? Are you
It's like a silver box.
A silver box with the head.
Would I know it's you looking at it? Yeah.
The same way you would know it's me if you saw it. It's a lot of makeup, but
Okay.
but you would know it was me.
I've got a picture in the magazine. I'll show you it.
And Max, for you as well, had you auditioned for any other roles prior to Rom?
Yeah, I was in the third season episode called, I know this one, Captain's Holiday.
Ah.
Yes, Sovac.
But there was nothing before that.
Nothing before that. That was Next Generation, and then 2 years later, I didn't have to audition. They asked me to do The Perfect Mate in the fifth season. That was with Franca Janssen. I don't know if that's James Bond. Well, she was in what? She was just in this huge.
She's been in a number of things, but she wasn't.
She was in the superhero movie. I don't know what. But the movie Patrick Stewart did with the guys who have
X-Men.
X-Men.
Thank you. I think she's in that. And so I did those two. What was the question?
Your experience prior to Star Trek, had you auditioned for any other parts? Maybe you didn't get them, but...
No, I auditioned for Captain's Holiday, and that was it. And then I auditioned for the role of Quark. When I did that fifth season episode, Michael Westmore told me to tell my agent to look out for. They knew they were going to have a show at the Ferengi as a series regular. They told you that too.
Yeah.
And they said, have your agent look out for it, and they called me in, and I read, and yeah. Should I tell that story?
Somebody else beat him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, tell the story. Tell the story.
I came in and I read, and I thought I did very poorly, and there are a lot of people around auditioning, and I thought I'd never hear from them again. And 3 weeks later, I heard from them again. They wanted me back, so I thought, well, I have another chance. And I went in there, and now there were very few people. You knew they were coming down to making their decisions. And I went in there, I thought I would do better, but I did as badly as I did the first time. And I
Could have been that bad, Max. You got a call back.
and I sat down on the steps of the Gower steps leading up to Paramount's the entrance, and I was upset. And Armin came out about 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes later, and I knew you were an actor. I don't know why. And he said, "What's going on? What's the problem?" I said, "I just read for this Star Trek series, new series, and I really screwed it up." He said, said, I know, I saw you there. He said, I screwed my audition up too. He said, but here's the good news. It's between you and me for the role. But how does he know that? He must know one of the producers, which means he's got an in to getting the role, or he knows the casting director. So I said, how do you know it's between you and me for the role? He said, we were the only two short people there. So that was my introduction to the wisdom of audition.
And our next question is, obviously looking at the Ferengi as they were in The Next Generation in that first episode, and the Ferengi how they were at the end of Deep Space Nine, there was a big evolution there. How big a part did you guys play in the evolution of those characters? Did you have quite a lot of influence over the scripts or the direction that episodes went?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, you answer. And then I'll answer what you can.
Did I have influence? Max have influence?
Yes.
No. No influence whatsoever. I think the only influence I had, and I think maybe most actors have, is that most actors on my level is that you bring something to the part, and they see what works that you're bringing to the part and what doesn't work, and then I think they tend to write to what you're doing that works. So it's not a direct influence. I can't say, hey, write me, make me the Grand Nagus, or how about giving me Lita the Double Girl and marrying me off to her. I can't say that. But I think you have just some indirect influence by what you're bringing to the mask and the role and all that. I think they see that and they want it to be good.
Sure.
So what you're doing that's good, or the direction you're taking it that's good, I think they write towards that direction. Yeah, that's all I have.
I tried for years to make a difference. As far as what to write, I kept begging them to tell me what was Quark's IQ, which they never did. Because in one episode I would be incredibly stupid, and in another episode I was incredibly brilliant. So I just said, tell me what his IQ is so I know what to play. However, it was always my agenda because of my performance in Next Generation, which to my mind, which was the mold that Max and other actors who played the Ferengi had to imitate. That performance was, in my opinion, excruciatingly bad. It was not at all what I'd been told, what they wanted from the Ferengi, and when I saw the episode, I was abysmally disappointed. Not so much in Star Trek, but in myself. And all subsequent Ferengi that I played after that first Ferengi, there was always in the forefront of my mind the desire to change what I had done in the first. And in the first one, we set up a matrix that became what the Ferengi became. And so it was always my agenda to do that. But as Max said, we weren't able to affect scripts or lines even. What we could do is change through our behavior. And if I may say so, and Max will correct me on this, when Max and I were auditioning for Quark, Max probably, and putting words in your mouth, you can correct me, probably auditioned for the role knowing what he had done as other Ferengi and imitating that because that's what had gotten him the job before. When I auditioned for Quark, I purposely auditioned in a different vein. I remember sitting on those steps with Max, and I distinctly asked him, how did you approach this? And he said, through a comical point of view. And he asked me the same question, and I said, I approached it through a dramatic point of view. And they, for whatever reason, decided to go with the dramatic point of view, and if there was a maturation of the Ferengi, it was because myself and Max and Aaron all grew into the place. Would you like to correct any of that? Because I don't know what you were thinking. I was assuming that's what
I don't remember. I think the audition scene was.
we auditioned all the scenes. We had to do all the scenes in.
I remember one of the scenes. That scene, we'll call it the Irish scene. But I don't remember how I don't remember what that was. That was a serious science scene.
What Max is referring to when he says Irish is that in the first episode of Deep Space Nine, Quark does not speak at all like he does in all the episodes that follow. And the reason is, Max tells the story better than I, but when the executive producer, Rick Berman, called me into his office, as he did each of the series regulars, to give us notes about the first episode, what he liked and what he didn't like. He was very kind about what he liked, but he did have one point in particular. He said, because all through the first episode, I say of Cisco, Commander. And Rick said, we already have an Irishman on the show. We don't need another one, so lose the voice. Because that is the voice that I had used playing the other Ferengi. And so I just used the same voice. It is true, you work with your females, arm them, force them to wear clothing. And that has sort of an Irish quality to it. And he said, use your own voice or you won't survive. So I just used my own voice. My voice is different than you hear on the Star Trek because of the teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a noticeable lisp at the
That's
beginning.
Right. Yeah.
It's because
He's
I'm wearing
getting used to.
prosthetics.
Yeah,
And the same, although Max has his own voice that he created for Rom, my voice is my voice with the prosthetic teeth.
And in terms of the characters of Quark and Rom, because I've heard other Star Trek actors say that they found things in the characters that were relatable to themselves. Is there anything with Quark and Rom that you can see in yourself that is quite similar to you?
that must be yes.
Answer.
I don't think Ram is that different from me. He's a better person than I am, but he's a better being. But yeah, a lot of his foibles, is that a word? Foibles. A lot of his foibles are my foibles. Yeah, I can answer that simply. Yeah.
And for me, it's not how different Quark is from Armin, but rather what Quark taught Armin to be. I was much more reticent, much more insular as a person before I began to play Quark. And Quark taught me to be more outgoing than I had been before. So now I resemble Quark more in that direction than I did before.
And in terms of the rest of the cast of Deep Space Nine, do you still keep in touch with a lot of the other cast members now?
Well, I'm mostly in touch with Armin, more than anybody else. I think when we see each other at conventions, other cast members, and we have in the States, there's a Creation Entertainment is a convention promoter, producer, and they have us doing a musical show. That includes 5 of us, Armin, myself, Vaughn Armstrong, Casey Biggs, who played Voldemort, and Jeff Combs, who played Ferengi Brunt, and
Wayun, of course.
Wayun. So we see some of each other, and some of those guys I have to rehearse with for the show. So Armin I rehearse with, and Vaughn I rehearse with, and sometimes Casey, a little bit of Casey I rehearse with. So in that sense I see people. But mostly more than anything I see Armin. My wife was a member, probably still is a member of a theater company that's next door to Armin's theater company in Los Angeles, in North Hollywood. So we've been to Armin's theater a lot, and we see each other there.
And in addition to those people, I do see a lot of Renee and Bergeron. We were still very close friends. And I see quite a bit actually of Michael Dorn. And the irony of ironies, the Next Generation cast is very close. They meet regularly. And I have sort of been invited into that very small circle. So most of the time when they have their intimate meetings, I find myself and my wife invited to those as well. I believe I'm the only outsider. But they are, that cast is enormously in touch with each other. One of the reasons the Deep Space Nine cast is not is that each of the regulars lives in various corners of the world. Cullen lives wherever he likes, whether it's Ireland or Italy or Canada or Spain or Los Angeles. He travels around. Avery lives in Jersey. Not up until recently lived in New Mexico. Sadiq obviously lives in England. Who's left? And Michael, as I said, Michael lives in Los Angeles, so we see that.
And can you both remember your first ever convention experience?
Sure, it was in England. It was 1993 at Leicester, the Midcon. It was called, run by Jenny, and I forget her husband's name, but yeah. And I'd asked Armin what it's like, and I'd asked Renee what it's like, and they both said, when I get on stage, I'm going to start talking, answering questions, and it's going to feel like 3 minutes. The hour's going to go by, like that. And they were right about that. It was a great experience. It was me and George Takei, and I would watch what George Takei did, how he treated the fans, and I liked what he was doing. So I tried to emulate him, and I would take as long to sign as he did. And when I did my first American convention, they said, "You are the slowest signer we have had here since the convention began, except for George Takei." I thought, well, that's what I'm trying to be like George Takei. He said, no, be like Marina Sirtis. So.
I do remember my first convention experience, but it had nothing to do with Star Trek. It was a Beauty and the Beast convention, and like Max, it was here in England. It was in Birmingham. I did several conventions in Birmingham for Beauty and the Beast, which is a show I appeared on before Star Trek, and that was wonderful. And like this convention, it was very intimate, very fan-friendly, and I learned to really get to know the people that I was meeting for the first time. And I sort of like conventions that way. I like it when I get to spend time, find out who the people are, hear their stories. I'm bored with my story. I'm even a little bored with his stories. But I'm very fascinated with the fan stories. And because as an actor, we learn from other people's life experiences.
And what would you say is the oddest thing that's ever happened to you as a result of Star Trek?
Oddest thing.
Any crazy fans or something that shocked you at a convention or odd behaviour?
Oddest thing that ever, as a result of Star Trek?
I feel like given a very strange Star Trek gift. Have you had any very strange?
No, I pass.
I have a number. I'll choose one, and one I think Max was there. I think you were there. I'm not sure if you were. I know you were there, but whether you were actually at the moment that this happened. Max and I got to do a convention in Hawaii, and I flew to Hawaii. I got to the airport a little bit late, and was in a mad rush to make my plane, which I did. I made my plane, 6-hour flight to Hawaii. I got off the plane, got to the hotel, and the hotel clerk said, said, "I need to see your ID." And I reached into my pocket. I had my wallet, but I didn't have my ID. I didn't have my driver's license. And I didn't have a passport because Hawaii is the United States. And there was a little kerfuffle there. I said, "Well, listen, I'm one of the Star Trek actors," and they knew who I was, and that was all fine. But I began to worry about not having an ID to get on the plane going home. Were you there?
I heard the story.
Yeah.
No, I mean I was there when I was
yeah.
not at the airport with you, but yeah, we were back in the hotel. Yeah.
So I called up the airport and the airlines and asked, told them my situation, and I was flying American Airlines, and the American Airlines lady said, "It shouldn't be a problem for us, but the problem will be with TSA, with the transport, the Homeland Security people. So we recommend that you get to the airport 2 hours before you would normally get to the airport to explain your situation. By the way, can you get your passport or a new driver's license before you leave? I said, no, I'm here for 48 hours. It's Hawaii. Even if you Federal Express it, if my wife Federal Express it, it wouldn't get here. So I was concerned about getting back on the plane. I told some of the other actors, listen, I'm going really early to the airport. I will see you there. They very nicely said, we'll come with you. I said, okay, great. I went to the check-in line, and the American Airlines people were very nice. They said, no, we have no problem with you. We see on our records that you got on the plane in Los Angeles. You must have had ID to do that. So we have no problem. Your problem is with TSA. And so I said, where do I find the TSA people? They said, right over there. I walked up to the TSA line. Casey Biggs was with me, the man who went to bar. And started to tell, he asked me for my ID. And I started to tell the story I just told you. And I went on for perhaps a little longer than I had just gone on. And he's looking. And finally he says to me, so what planet are you traveling to? And I said, do you know who I am? He said, oh yes, I watch the show all the time. And I said, so there's no problem? He said, no, there's no problem. You can go through. So I went through. I got to the area where they put the baggage on the carousel. And, okay, another TSA. So, and he says, that is the most, and I said, there have been actually a dozen stories. I said, wait. In the Honolulu airport, it's not that big. It's a long story. So you could see the.
I signed a German woman's breasts.
I said,
We're talking to
I think that's sort of the oddest thing. Signing I was kind of shy about it. Just come on, go for it. That's what I remember.
So, if they were to do a new Star Trek series, would you be interested in revising your role?
Yeah, sure. I would play that role forever. Yeah, but it was a great job to have. Great job.
I'm not so sure. I would do it in a movie, but if the series means another 7 years, I'm not so sure. It was lovely. I had a great time. If I could go back to that time and do it again, I would do that. I'm much older now, and it was a very painful. It's not painful, but it was exhausting. And I don't know whether I have the stamina to do that for those years. The lucky thing is they were the Braces. So they might ask Max. They might even ask me, but not to be serious rappers. It was wonderful, but it was exhausting.
It's a good point. I don't know if my body could. I don't know how my body, my face, and everything would handle it. So, it's a good point.
So, if they were to ever do a reboot of DS9, what actors would you like to see play your characters?
Can I answer that first? I would like to see Max play Quark.
Wow, would that be a different form?
Yes, it would be.
Wow. What do you mean? Do the series again?
Well, it's sort of similar to what J.J. Abrams has done with the original series.
Oh, so they'd have to get a really A-level actor to play me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
May I put the two questions together
Sure.
and say to you, if an A-level actor except with the possibility of Ron Perlman was too tall. If an A-level actor knew what we had to go through in order to create our characters, I don't think they could play those two.
And our final question is there ever a question you've wanted to be asked but no one's ever asked you?
It's been 20 years. The question we could possibly heard.
That I've wanted to be asked. Because like I have my answer ready for it.
Yeah, like something you've
He's
always
like,
really
come
wanted
on,
to be asked. Like,
ask me
apart
this one,
from
'cause
how
I know.
wanted the makeup thing.
Where does Rom's sex appeal come from? Nobody's ever asked me.
What would your answer be?
It comes from within the actor playing the role.
We've pretty much been asked every question we could possibly think of, or every question we could possibly come up with an answer. I don't think it's the nice thing about having been part of the franchise for both of us is the amount of questions we've been asked, and the interest that people have taken not only in our characters but in the show and in the franchise in general. We are both honored and delighted to be part of that franchise. For me, who was a fan long before I was on it, it's like winning the lottery, and it has been nothing but wonderful. The work itself was wonderful. Even the nuisance of the makeup was bearable and worth it at the time. But as I said, we've gotten older. It's a little harder. One last thing about the makeup, if you will, and only to get my wife's name in the article. She was a very smart lady. There was one day when I was complaining about the makeup to her, and she knew I had been a Star Trek fan, and she said to me, very wisely, by the way, her name is Kitty Swink, who said to me, Armin, if you want to be a knight, you have to wear the armor. So I wear the armor. And one last thing about Kitty. Kitty is the only spouse to have broken the spouse barrier in Star Trek. As far as I know, she's the only spouse who's actually got to play parts on Star Trek that was married to one of the actors.
Played two parts.
Two parts.
Two parts,
She played a
She played a Vorta in what should know this, Tackling the Wind. I think that's what it's called. The episode.
She played Minister
Roseanne in Sanctuary. So we're very proud of her, and she actually would play more Vorta if they hadn't really discovered that she could do it so well. They said to her, Ira said to her, if I'd known you were out there, I would have written a female Vorta. Because they loved Jeff. Jeff was terrific. That's why they cloned him. But they didn't write any female Vortas because they didn't think they could find one. And when they found Kitty, they went, oh my God, yes, we like her.
Kitty would have been here, except she's starring in the show that's opening
Yeah.
very soon.
So, and she helps us, as Max said, she helps run the theater. We both help run the theater back. And that's what we do now. We're theater actors.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Is there any questions you'd like to ask that you had the opportunity? I know that you're all sitting here.
How many rules of acquisition can you remember?
Max knows.
Go on then.
I know a lot of them. I don't know all
What
of
the
them.
best ones?
Are
Most
you
memorable.
going to see our show tonight?
Yeah.
We have a song called "The Rules of Acquisition."
Brilliant.
Song, in which we sing some of the rules of acquisition. Yeah. But the best one. Come to the show. Rule 48.
Oh, you're leaving
I was going to
behind.
say, do you have a favourite?
Just so you know,
I have a favourite.
48 is probably my favorite. That'll be in the show tonight. 48.
My favorite is War is Good for Business.
And the next rule, pieces.
Pieces. Also good for business.
My favourite is you can't free fish from water.
Very good.
I like that. I like that.
And no good deed goes unpunished.
I use that one over I think we compile the questions together. So
What?
we compile the questions together. So
Sure. You're not taking our time. Unlike other actors, we are more than happy to sit here and talk to you. So it's not like, oh, we're taking their time. You're not.
Okay,
So,
well, I think in an interview with people like Patrick Stewart, we heard there's an incident on TNG where LeVar Burton fell asleep during filming and they didn't see him around him and didn't realise anything strange or weird happened on DS9.
yeah, I did the same thing. There was an episode, and I don't remember the name of it, but Max probably does, because we were sitting around a table and we had to eat this very strange thing. This, I don't know what it was. It looked like a cockroach. And they asked us who wants to eat this. And Max volunteered. And I was very sick. I had flu, but I was still at work. And having flu and being in that hit was problematic. And I remember he volunteered for it. And the next thing I remember was, okay, that's print, let's move on to the next scene. I'd slept through it. And they shot it over my shoulder, so they didn't know I was asleep.
That was my best work. I remember that. Yeah, it tasted like pure salt. It was some kind of crab, they called it, or something. Yeah. And you would eat it, and then your teeth would fall out. And I told them that. They said, "That's all we need. We just need the bite, and then we're going to cut. So if your teeth fall out, it's fine."
Of course I
Did you ever get to work with any of your personal heroes, either in Star Trek or outside of Star Trek? Like actors you admired growing up?
Yeah, I had the good fortune to work with Rutger Hauer in a movie called The Hitcher, and that was really terrific. Nobody comes to mind right now, but this is going to sound very bizarre. There was one actor who I admired a great deal, and then I worked with him, and I didn't much care for him. And then I worked with him again, and then I sort of felt, that's really how better. I had always thought Renee's work, both in movies and in theater, was exquisitely good. And then I did a play with him, and we butted heads, and then they put us together in the makeup trailer for Deep Space Nine, and we became very, very close friends.
Well,
He's fallen asleep.
the question was,
Did when you were growing up, actors you admired, did you ever get to work with them in any of your roles?
No, I'm thinking of, I did this movie once, which you can't see me in actually, but it was Rising Sun, and it was Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery, and Sean Connery was a great gentleman, you know, and very nice to me for this little scene. But Wesley Snipes did something. He wasn't in my shot, or I don't think he was around when I was filming. But he came over and he shook my hand and he welcomed me to the set. And I just thought, man, that is a nice thing to do.
And Rutger Hauer was the same way. Rutger Hauer knocked on the trailer door and said, "Hello, I'm Rutger Hauer. We'll be working together. Welcome to the set." And that was the exact same story. It's a mark of a gentleman. And I must say, on Deep Space Nine, we treated our guest stars enormously well, because we had these role models that taught us how to behave genteelly with the people that were working with us, and there was sort of a selfishness to that as well, in that if the people that are new to the set feel comfortable, their work is better, and they give 100%. And we knew that the world that they were coming into was very bizarre. It was home to us. We knew it very well. But to someone who was showing up for the first week, everything was different. Everything. And acting with us, you aren't looking into a human face. You're looking into a grotesque, rubber, painted face. And so in order to make them feel comfortable, we did our very best to make the set an easy place to be. And it's because of the people like this that showed us how to do it.
Yeah, I think if you ask actors who came on DS9, also probably Next Generation, I'm not sure, but I know I felt comfortable on Next Generation. But they would say that they felt welcomed on the set, they felt appreciated, and that sort of thing.
This is Chase Masterson, of course.
Hi guys.
We know Chase.
All right. Hi.
And there are some sets that I've been to. There are some sets. What's that? Okay.
Because you have to talk.
There are some sets that I would be on. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I just feel people are so cold. The whole set is kind of. And I understand it's Hollywood and time is money and they're into their thing and that, but just to say hello or something, it's not a lot. Most sets are nice enough, you know. But sometimes you go somewhere and it's.
You know what happens is you shut down. And when you shut down, the work isn't as good. It's good enough. It's good enough. But something inside you says, I don't feel comfortable. I can't be free. I can't give my best work. So it's ridiculous to do that. And it's if you're the person who's there the most, it's your party. You're the host. You make sure your guests feel comfortable at the party.
Yeah, and it's not, you don't need to do a lot. I mean, but anyway. But, well,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Get told off.
Make it so. Prepare to attack. All hands battle station. Don't worry. We will get to the bottom of this. All right. Ask is a tall ship and a star steered by. I don't want excuses. I want answers. Am I authorized to enter the neutral zone? How do you think that tells me about your character? Captain's log, stardate 3541.9.
Program complete. Enter when ready.